Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Today in this video, you are going to get a quick look at exactly what is aggregate demand. So you might be wondering what exactly is aggregate demand, and this video is just meant to be an overview, right? An introduction, a little teaser to give you some information about what exactly is meant by aggregate demand. And this is, of course, is designed for students who are studying economics, but also anyone who's interested in having a further understanding or a deeper understanding of the world around them by studying economics. Basically, aggregate demand is the same concept of microeconomic demand, expanded to consider a country's entire economy, right? The aggregate. Don't get confused by this word aggregate. It's not a complicated word. It sounds all fancy and you can sound cool when you say it, but it just means total, okay? So total. Aggregate is another way of saying total. So when we say aggregate demand, what we're really looking at is the total demand in a country at a given period of time. And what this means is that we are going to take a look at all consumers and all producers and all markets expressed on, and put them on one diagram, which we'll construct, which is called the aggregate supply and aggregate demand diagram, okay? So aggregate demand, it's not complicated. When you see aggregate demand, you just think about, okay, what are the sectors of society that are buying things? Who are they that want things? Well, consumers, that's me, that's you, we want things, so we buy things. And think about all of the things that we buy in a particular year, and that could be the aggregate demand of me or you in a particular year. If you add up all of the demand for all people in the society, you're going to get one aspect of aggregate demand. If you then think about all of the producers, all of the businesses, right? The firms, they demand things too, because in order to make yoga mats, you have to get the components in there to construct and build and make and manufacture the yoga mat. If you want to make pizza, you better find and demand cheese, find and demand tomato sauce and dough so that you can make a killer pizza, okay? And also other demanders, by the way, out there is the government, because the government buys a lot of things in the marketplace, right? They buy things that they consume themselves, whether that just be the government office going out and trying to buy printer paper or buying computers or buying airplanes, right? They're usually buying those from the public sector. From the private sector, from businesses. So that's a form and example of an increase or an element of aggregate demand. And the other thing are the other element are people outside of your country who want to buy things that are made in your country, right? So if you think about China, for example, they manufacture an enormous amount of things and they export them. They send them to other countries, and what comes in? Money, okay? So aggregate demand is a fancy way of saying the total demand in an economy at any given period of time, and that is usually 1 year. So total, aggregate, all consumers, all producers, all markets, and then, and this video is not meant to cover this, check out some of the other videos that I've posted on my channel, which, by the way, has over 300 videos that covers all of micro, macro, international, and development economics, including theory of the firm. So check out the other videos if you're a student out there studying economics. But aggregate demand and aggregate supply diagram is a incredibly important diagram for studying economics, and aggregate demand, of course, is one element of that very, very intricate diagram that you will learn how to draw. Well, there you have it, a quick look at aggregate demand, one side of this beautiful, beautiful graph that you're building towards if you're in economic studies, which is, of course, the aggregate demand, aggregate supply diagram. And understanding aggregate demand gives you insight and like a basis to understand the complexity of all of the things in a particular economy that are demanded. And it's incredible when you really think about it. Think about all the things you purchase, as I just said, all the things that you purchase in a particular year, and add all of those things up, and that's what economists use
to create something called aggregate demand, upon which they base an enormous amount of economic theory, economic thought, and ultimately political policies. All right, my friends, listen, be good to yourselves out there. This whole world that we live in is a classroom, and your study of economics is going to give you a baseline of understanding that nobody will ever be able to take away from you. All right, be good to yourselves out there, my friends. Be good to each other as well, and we'll talk to you in a bit.